Right, so for recording purposes, we're starting the circulatory system in humans, right? Us. So what is the circulatory system, first of all? So I have a little brief explanation here. As I mentioned before class started, the circulatory system is how blood moves around the body. And of course, blood is very, very important because blood contains a lot of nutrients. And all these nutrients need to reach our cells in the body. So if they ask us, what is the circulatory system in the exam, right? And what it does, right? Substances are transported around the human body by the circulatory system. Very, very easy to understand. But what does the system consist of? Like, what are the major parts of the circulatory system? Well, I already mentioned one to you guys, blood. Now, that's a key player in the circulatory system. And believe it or not, a lot of people know that blood transport materials around the body. When I say materials, right? Things like plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Now, these four things, right? There's something else missing. Actually, two things kind of missing from this. Things like nutrients are missing, right? So why didn't I put in these things? Well, the reason is nutrients are usually inside the plasma part of the blood. Now, you may not know what the plasma part of the blood is. My job will be to explain that later on. But the plasma of the blood usually contains the nutrients. By the way, the plasma is the liquid part of the blood. And it usually contains things like carbon dioxide, glucose, proteins, and whatnot. And of course, oxygen is very important. Oxygen needs to make it all the way around our body because all our cells need oxygen for a process called respiration. From last term, out of the four over here, which one of these carries the oxygen? Is it the plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells, or platelets? Which one of those four components within blood are responsible for carrying the oxygen? Let's see what you guys remember from last term. Right, so no wrong answers so far. Right, well, one wrong answer, but that's okay. The red blood cells is the answer. The red blood cells is responsible for carrying oxygen. And of course, I will refresh your memory later on how actually the red blood cells carry around the oxygen. But a lot of people don't know this about blood. Blood actually distributes heat around the body. So blood is one of those things that helps to regulate the heat around the body. For example, if one part of your body, let's say, I just making up a scenario here. Let's say that your brain is overheating. So for whatever reason, your brain is hot right now, right? There's too much heat in this area. Your blood could actually take the heat from your head area and distribute it elsewhere in your body, thereby reducing the heat in your brain area. So that is one thing a lot of people just don't know about blood. Also, the circulatory system is made up of blood vessels. There are three main blood vessels that carry blood around the body: the arteries, the veins, and the capillaries, which I have to discuss in detail also. Out of these three, arteries, veins, and capillaries, then remember, they are vessels that carry the blood around the body, just like how a gardening hose carries water from one place to a next place. Out of those three, which one is the strongest one? Is it arteries, veins, or capillaries? Which one is the thickest one? Which one can withstand the most pressure? Is it arteries, veins, or capillaries? Of course, Some people might get it wrong. Just keep trying, guys. It doesn't matter. Once you participate in class, you will learn the work, right? It makes no sense sitting down quiet in class. Send your responses, okay? And if you had guessed or reasoned out that the answer for the strongest one was arteries, you are correct, right? Arteries are stronger than veins. And capillaries are the smallest out of them. Capillaries are really, really, really small, right? So small, it's hard to see it with the naked eye, in fact, right? You can see arteries and veins with your eyes, but capillaries are so thin and so small, you can't really see it with the human eye. And of course, the third part of the circulatory system, you can't forget this guy, the heart. The heart is the pump. Like how a water pump pushes water throughout your house, the heart pushes blood around your body. So guys, that's a brief introduction. Take down everything on the screen. Let me know when you are finished. All right, so let's do a brief revision. Well, not really a total revision and have some extra stuff here. Think of this as a small quiz. Let's see if we can complete the underlined words. Here's what I need for you guys to do. Take down these 3 sentences and see, or 4 sentences, sorry. Write it out and see if you could figure out what words are missing. For some of the words, I gave you the letter it is starting with. And for some of them, well, you just have to outright figure it out on your own. Let's see how much you can get correct here. Take 2 minutes, write it, and give it your best attempt to filling the missing blanks. Let me know when you're finished with your attempt. So, plasma. Well, we know plasma is the liquid part of the blood by now. So it transports carbon dioxide, digested food like fats, glucose, and amino acids. Well, we did the digestive system last term, so we know about fats, glucose, and amino acids. The H word here is obviously heat. And the plasma also has mineral ions and vitamins. So I hope you all got that correct, okay? Red blood cells, we mentioned this just now, transports oxygen around the body from the lungs to the cells, right? Which require it for aerobic respiration. You heard me talk about that a few minutes ago. White blood cells. Now, white blood cells are your defenders. They protect you from diseases. Whenever a disease like a bacteria, a foreign bacteria or a virus tries to invade your body and make you sick, your white blood cells stand up for you and fight the invaders. Well, they usually call the invaders like viruses and unwanted bacteria pathogens. So that's the biological word for them. By producing the white blood cells, usually produce something called antibodies, right? Or antibodies, so however you want to pronounce it, right? Now, it's very important to know not all white blood cells produce something called antibodies that will try to defeat the pathogens. There are actually 2 major categories of white blood cells. Some of them produce antibodies and some of them don't. Obviously, we're going to discuss that in more detail later. Platelets help your blood to clot. You know, when you get a cut, the cut is supposed to stop bleeding after a while. Well, there's something in your blood called platelets that usually go to the bleeding area and stop the bleeding, and that's called clotting. Take 30 seconds, take down all my answers, and of course, we will move on just now. All right, and look at it. We're going to discuss the two different types of white blood cells one time. So white blood cells, there are two types, one called phagocytes and the other called lymphocytes. So this monster is supposed to represent your white blood cells. Obviously, they don't look like that in real life. White blood cells just usually look like a small blob, right? That's all they basically look like. So I'm going to show you how both of them work. So I'm going to draw a little dividing line here. Let's say this scary looking bacteria, this virus, but this is a bacteria, better known as a pathogen, invades your body and he plans to make you sick. Well, phagocytes, what they usually do, they don't do anything fancy. They just walk up to the bacteria and eat it. As simple as that, right? Real caveman behavior, right? No thinking behind it. You have an invader, they just walk up to the bacteria and eat it and destroy it. Simple, 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 simple. Lymphocytes are a little bit more sophisticated, right? What will happen? The pathogen invades your body, tries to make you sick, like I said before. The lymphocytes don't go up to the pathogen and eat it. It's too good for that. It's more civilized. What it will do, it will investigate it. It will look at the pathogen, get to know the pathogen, and then get to know its weaknesses, right? Which is good, how you say, good, like basically what they do in the army. They look at their enemies, they get to know their enemies, and pinpoint all their weaknesses. Once the lymphocytes figure out the weakness of the pathogen, it creates something called antibodies. And the antibody, it will release the antibodies, and these antibodies target the weakness of the pathogens. So the antibodies destroy the pathogens. The white blood cell itself doesn't actually make full contact with the pathogens and eat it. Like I said, it's a little bit more sophisticated. I want you to take down everything here. Now, I know most of you cannot draw this funny looking monster. So just draw a blob now and just call it a white blood cell and name him the phagocytes. And this one do the same thing. Draw a little blob like this and call him the lymphocytes. Right, so just remember the lymphocyte is a sophisticated one. Right? Oh, just the sophisticated one is the lymphocyte because he creates the antibodies. Right? The phagocyte is the caveman. He just walks up to the bacteria and eats it. Let's go. Oh, I didn't forget you guys, right? Remember from last term, we just have these small little games and things to play and whatnot, just to kill the boredom. All right, so we have a little game. I made quite a few more here. Right, so it have a little medieval setting, hence the jester at the beginning of class. So let's see what this game is about. This is our host here. Right, so welcome traveler, come play ye game. Choose two items and hope they have the same color. We'll be playing for points today, right? So get a blank piece of paper and you're going to be collecting points today. So choose two items here. You could choose the banana and watermelon or whatever combination. Choose any two items. And what's going to happen? The squares are going to change colors. And if your two items have the same color, you win. You win a certain amount of points, right? I honestly cannot remember this. I know some of you are thinking I'll be cheating, but I'm not today. I am going to choose the strawberry and the mushrooms. And hopefully, they will be the same color at the end of the game. Let's test your luck today. A lot of people are these accusations of me cheating. All right, so let's see if you guys get lucky. Oh no, I lost. My strawberry was orange. It has an orange background, and my mushroom has a green background. Anybody was able to win? Anybody got the same color, like two yellows or two greens or two oranges? If you won, that's a little congratulations, confetti there, and you just got 2 points. So if you won, write down 2 points. And we'll see who has the most amount of points at the end of the day, right? Right. So congratulations to those who won. Let's go. All right. So how does blood travel? Well, it's very, very simple. Your heart pushes the blood around the body, but it's a little bit more complicated than that, right? Slightly more complicated, not too much more complicated. How it works, whatever blood leaves the heart, whatever blood the heart pushes out has to eventually come back to the heart. So how it works, right? Let me get my pencil here. Right. So blood, there are two places blood can leave the heart. On top here, and we'll get all the different names for all the parts just now, right? But the heart usually pushes blood out, and anytime blood leaves the heart, those are things that are called arteries, right? So arteries, which I have it here, are vessels where blood leave the heart. And arteries are usually very thick and strong because when blood leaves the heart, it comes out at a very high pressure. So you need something that can withstand those pressure. So in summary, whenever blood leaves the heart and is traveling away from the heart, the vessel that it flows through are called arteries. Now, like I said, whatever blood leaves the heart has to eventually come back to the heart. When blood comes back to the heart, it does so via veins. So, to summarize again, whenever blood is leaving the heart, those vessels are called arteries. The vessels that are returning blood to the heart are called veins. Now, think about it. When the blood leaves the heart, it comes out at a very high pressure. By the time that blood does all its work and supplies the body, the blood that remains to come back to the heart will be at a low pressure. So do you think the returning blood, do you think the returning vessels, the veins, do you think they will need to be as strong? Yes or no? In other words, do you think veins need to be strong or weaker? Well, what are your thoughts on that? It has to be weaker, right? Because the blood comes out at a high pressure, but when it's finished working, the pressure would have been used up basically. And the blood will be at a low pressure now. So the veins do not need to be that strong to handle the blood. Right? But don't worry, I'm going to give you all detailed notes on this. I'm just introducing it now. Now, here's the thing. All of this blood needs to supply every single cell in your body because every single cell in your body needs plasma, it needs nutrients, it needs oxygen and whatnot. Blood vessels are too big to interact with cells. Remember, cells in your body are very small. So what happens is that the arteries begin to split up into small, thin vessels. These thin vessels are called capillaries. And of course, veins have a version of the capillaries also. You see, these capillaries are small enough and thin enough to interact with the very, very small cells in your body. Okay? So to be honest, the arteries actually split up into arteriole, and then the arterioles split up into even smaller things called capillaries. Now, in the exam, you're not going to be required to draw in detail what an arteriole is or what a venule is, right? You're only going to be supposed to draw an artery, which I will give you a detailed drawing of just now, a capillary, which I will give you a detailed drawing of, and a vein. You just need to know what these two guys are, the arteriole and the venule, sorry. Okay? Right. So take down this diagram, and of course, I know not everyone understood 100% of everything there. That's normal. I have a next slide after that's going to discuss this in more detail, and you'll get a full picture. And I know some of you all are very, very anxious to learn the different parts of the heart just now. I'll get to that in a little while, right? Right. So the venule is just when the vein splits up into smaller parts. You can see it here. The vein is thicker, and the vein is just splitting up into smaller parts. But when the venule is split up into even smaller parts, they're called capillaries. So a arteriole and a venule is just like a kind of intermediate part of the vein and the artery. It's smaller than the vein, but not smaller than a capillary. It's like a river. Have you ever seen a river from a top view? When you have a river, when the river now starts, it's very, very thick. And then the river begins to branch out into smaller pieces. And these smaller pieces become even thinner later on. If you look at a river from a plane, it looks like that. This comes like your artery, arteriole, and finally the thinnest parts of a river come like your capillaries. Right? Yes. Right? If you wanted to pronounce venule, venule. All right. So here, let's pretend we have a very, very powerful microscope, and we could zoom into a cell in our body. Last time I showed everybody how a cell looks. It looks something like this, minus the googly eyes, which I did for fun. All right. So remember, let's just do a quick review. I'm going to use this as an excuse. This blue thing here is a cell. I'm going to put some arrows here. What's the name of this piece of the cell? Let's just quickly do a forced revision here. That part of the cell. All right, answers are coming up, right? Right. And a lot of people are saying it's the nucleus. All right. What about this guy here? This orange squiggly, kind of squiggly line inside part. I'll give you a hint. It starts with the letter N. Not N, M, sorry. Right. Mitochondria. In case you didn't know, your mitochondria is responsible for making all your energy. You see the energy that you have now, so you can stay awake and pay attention to class and walk around? All of that energy is made in your mitochondria. What's the name of the process inside the mitochondria that produces energy? Let's see if you all remember. We did an entire month on this last term. Respiration, correct. When your body makes energy, the biological name for that is respiration. All right, I'm not going to go through all different parts of the cell and whatnot. Right? So what's going to happen? This blood vessel here that's making contact. By the way, this is our blood vessel. I painted red and everything for you guys. This blood vessel, do you think it's an artery, a vein, or a capillary? Take a best guess. That vessel that's making contact with the cell, is it an artery, a vein, or a capillary? Right? I just reading through the answers here. I just want to see how much people were paying attention, but not paying attention, retain the information. I'm sure most people are paying attention. All right. Remember I said an artery, let's draw it back here quickly, right? And it's very important. I'm going to draw the artery red because I had it red in the last diagram. Arteries are very, very thick, right? And remember, veins are also very, very thick and large. Remember I said arteries and veins are too large. You can look at your hands now for those, and of course, you can actually see some of your veins and arteries by your wrist and whatnot. When you look at your wrist, right? With your eyes, you can actually see your veins and arteries through your skin because they are relatively large. These are too large to interact with cells. Remember I said that a few moments ago. Cells are very, 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 very small. Arteries and veins are too large to interact. So that is why your arteries and veins have to split up into smaller pieces called capillaries. Capillaries are roughly probably 1,000 times thinner than a vein or an artery. Capillaries are what make contact or interact with cells. So you see this blood vessel here? This is a capillary. Everybody okay with that now? Veins and arteries are too large to interact with cells. Only capillaries can interact with them. All right, so I'm labeling it on the diagram here. So the capillaries have blood in them also. And here's how it works. Well, the incoming blood will have oxygen, nutrients, mineral ions, and vitamins. So what's going to happen when the blood is flowing here, and remember the capillary is touching the cell, all of these yummy things will diffuse across into the cell. And that's good because the cell wants those things. But like all living things, and your cell is considered to be living, when your cell uses all of these nice things, oxygen, nutrients, mineral ions, and vitamins, it will create waste. All living things create waste. It will need to get rid of the things. So the blood vessels, the capillaries will bring nice things, and then everything that the cell doesn't want, he will push it back out into the capillary. And the capillary, having blood, will carry it away, right? And of course, some of the things that a cell produces, the waste, the bad things that the cells produce are things like carbon dioxide. Some of the water is considered to be waste, right? I know most people think as water as a good thing, but too much of anything can be a bad thing. In this case here, the water produced by the cells are considered a bad thing. And then there's something called urea. Urea is a nitrogenous compound. Urea, it's no coincidence that urea resembles the word urine. Urine, when you go to the toilet to urinate, or number one, right? You are getting rid of something called urea, which is found in urine. Okay? And in case for those who forgot the chemical formula for respiration, I have it underneath here just in case you forgot it from last term. Cells take glucose and oxygen, which they get from the capillaries, because remember, the capillaries are providing oxygen and definitely glucose. Your cells, well, more specifically, your mitochondria, will take glucose and oxygen, mix it together, and do a magical reaction. And you will get 4 things out of it, right? There's something's blocking my view here. Well, actually 3 things, right? Carbon dioxide, water, and energy. This is where you get your energy from. The carbon dioxide and the water are not really useful. So these are considered waste products. The energy is the only useful thing produced in respiration. There's something missing from my formula here. Who could tell me what's the 4th thing missing? When you perform respiration, you actually get 4 things: carbon dioxide, water, energy, and one more thing. You get one more thing. It starts with the letter H. Right, you get a little bit of heat. And I could kind of prove that to you. What's the average body temperature of a healthy human being? How much degrees Celsius? Everybody went through COVID. We went through 4 years of COVID. What is a healthy body temperature? Right? It's around 36 or 37 degrees. Anything around there will be okay. Guess where you get your body temperature from? Remember, your body has trillions of cells. And each of those cells, like literally trillions of cells, right? And every one of those cells are performing respiration. And respiration produces heat. So when you add up, even though it's a little bit of heat, you have 1 trillion cells. So when you add up all the heat from those trillions of cells, you get roughly 36 or 37 degrees. That 36 or 37 degrees is a measurement of how much heat your body is producing by respiration, right? And energy and heat, well, heat is a type of energy, right? No, but heat is a type of energy. The energy that they're talking about here, when I have the word energy, is the energy you use for daily activities. There are many different types of energy, but the energy that we're talking about here, the first time I wrote the word energy, is energy that you use to do your daily activities. Okay? Heat is actually a waste product, is actually a wasted type of energy that your body really doesn't need, right? But yeah, actually it does need it, but too much of it will get you sick. Like when you have too much heat, that's a fever. We'll be talking about all of those things later. All right, guys, you all know the drill. Draw, take down everything on the screen, and we will move on. I think y'all probably need 2 minutes for that. I think that should be fair. All right. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you draw this because this could be a bit complicated, right? But let's just you get the basics down here. Here's what happens, right? I need to explain this in detail. For those who could draw it, I guess I'll give you a chance to draw it after, but I would actually prefer that you all draw this on your spare time because on average, it will take about, the average person, about 10 minutes to draw this. Let me explain how the veins and the arteries work together with the heart. It's actually not a very complicated process, but it's not actually common sense. Here's how it works. Let's start our story in this area here. I'm going to put a tick arrow here, right? Anything that has blue in it has deoxygenated blood. In case you don't know what deoxygenated blood is, it has little or no oxygen in it. Oxygenated blood, which is anything that is red, obviously means it has oxygen in it. So I want you to think of it as good blood and bad blood, right? Cells need oxygen. So the red ones, I want you to think of it as good ones. But our journey actually starts here, right? Where the arrow is, you will notice that it is blue. So here's what the heart says, right? Okay, my blood over here has no oxygen. Where do you think in your body has the oxygen to give to the blood? Well, what do you all think? So pretend you are blood and you have no oxygen. where do you think you need to go to in order to get blood? You have to go to the lungs, right? Now, before I show you the rest of that, right? How about this? I'm going to show you a diagram. Let's say you have a heart. And right now, the heart has the blood in the heart has no oxygen. Like you all just said, common sense would say, all right, I will pump out the blood from my heart. I will send it to where? The lungs. That makes a lot of sense because you breathe in air by your lungs. So your lungs is going to have the oxygen. When the blood goes inside of the lungs, it will get oxygen. So when the blood comes out of the oxygen of the lungs, I can draw it what now? Red, to indicate that it has oxygen. Make sense so far, guys? You send the blood to the lungs, so it's blue, it has no oxygen. When it goes into the lungs, it will fill up on oxygen and then come out as oxygenated blood. And what will this oxygenated blood do now? Shouldn't the oxygenated blood go to all parts of the body? Sorry for the bad handwriting there, of body. So all the oxygenated blood should go to all parts of the body and give all the cells oxygen. But tell me something. What color line should come out here? Will it be blue or red? Well, what do you all think? Because whatever blood leaves the heart has to return to the heart. Let me know. Well, let me draw some arrows here so you keep with the directions. It should be blue. Why should it be blue? Some people said red, but let me explain why it has to be blue. When the oxygenated blood comes out of the lungs and goes to all parts of the body, won't all parts of the body be using the oxygen? So the body parts are going to use up the oxygen in the blood, which means when it comes out, it's going to be blue again. And when it goes back into your heart will pump it back to the lungs. It will fill up back on oxygen, and the whole process repeats. This seems simple, right? I mean, to me, this is a real nice process. But this is not what actually happens in humans. This is actually what happens in like an animal, like a fish. You all notice it have one loop. Look at it. It only have one loop. So you call this a single loop. So fish have a single loop system for delivering oxygenated blood around the body. And it's simple. But human beings don't have a simple system like that. And I'm going to leave this here so you can compare it. Look how it works now. Your heart will pump the deoxygenated blood to the lungs. The lungs will give the blood oxygen. When it leaves the lungs, it doesn't go to all parts of the body like in a fish. Look what happens. The oxygenated blood goes back to the heart. Let me repeat that. The deoxygenated blood gets pumped to the lungs. It fills up on oxygen, but instead of delivering it to the rest of the body, it sends it back to the heart. And when the heart receives the oxygenated blood, the red one, it pumps it back out. So it kind of repumps it out. And only then it goes to the rest of the body. Right? So the rest of the body is like the head, the liver, the intestines. But I couldn't really list out every single part of the body, right? And of course, it will then go to the liver and intestines and thing, and then return back to the heart. You notice the returning loop. is going back to the heart. And of course, when that deoxygenated blood reaches back to the heart, the process just repeats itself. You'll notice it have two major systems here. It have one system to deliver it to the lungs and return to the heart, and then the heart repumps it out after. So it has two major steps there. Humans have a double loop system. It does not have a single loop system. Now, this is more complicated, right? I don't know why humans evolved with that system. I really don't know. All I know is that is how the circulatory system in humans look, right? Right. So eventually, right, you're going to have to learn all the different parts of all the different veins and all the different arteries. Remember, when blood leaves the heart, it's called an artery. When blood returns to the heart, it's called a vein. Just to give you only three for the time being. You see the pulmonary artery? When the blood first leaves, and notice blood is leaving, when the blood leaves the heart, that artery is called the pulmonary artery. When it returns back to the heart for the first time, it does so via the pulmonary vein. Remember, when blood is returning to the heart, it's called a vein. And then, once the oxygenated blood reaches into the heart, it gets re-pumped out. Notice it's leaving, and that is called the aorta. What do you think the aorta is? Do you think the aorta is an artery or a vein? Notice the blood is leaving through the aorta. Let me know in the chat. Is the aorta an artery or a vein? Scott, correct. Right, Zaria, correct. Right. It's an artery. Remember, blood leaves the heart by an artery. I should probably put a note here, right? Let me put a little note on the side here. An artery, blood leaves or flows away from the heart. And a vein, I'll put it down here, right? Blood flows back to the heart. So anytime you have a vessel and it's returning blood to your heart, it's called a vein. If it's taking away the blood from your heart, it's called an artery. Now, if you look at the diagram here, and the examiner loves to test you on this, all the arteries all the red parts have oxygen in it. If you look at it, all arteries are red. Look at it. If you look at your diagram, right? All arteries are red except for the pulmonary artery. The pulmonary artery is the only artery in your body that has no oxygen in it. But it's called an artery because it's taking away the blood from the heart. And the pulmonary vein is the only vein in the body that has oxygen. If you look at all the veins are blue, right? The pulmonary vein just came out of the lungs, but returns blood to the heart. So he's called a vein. These two guys, the examiner loves to test you on those two. So here what I'm gonna give you all some time to draw this, right? I think I will. Because I think if I give it for homework, like for you all to draw it, the majority of the class will not draw it. So give me a fair amount of time. How much time do you think you need to take down everything on the screen here? 10 minutes? Well, what do you all think? That's a fair amount of time? But I think you all deserve a small break there after that horrible drawing you had to do. So we have a game here where the wizard comes and you have to try to guess what picture is behind this piece of paper. You can see bits of the picture behind, right? And if you can guess what it is, I'm only going to remove 5 blocks. What do you all think it is? Take a guess. Oh, that. Oh man, you all got it out already. I thought it would be harder than this. Ah, this was a waste. All right, I'm removing it. Let's see if we can get it. He's gonna burn holes into this. All right, so remove five extra holes. Sorry. By now, everyone should get. I thought it would have been harder. All right, so for those who got it out, you're going to get how much points? It's a horse, right? You get 2 points. So write down the 2 points if you were honestly able to guess it. I'll see if I get a harder one for you guys. Boy, this was disappointing. This one was disappointing. All right. Before you get scared, you don't have to draw this, right? I have a simplified drawing on the next slide. So remember I told you all arteries, veins, and capillaries are different. If you look at a diagram of an artery, you notice it has a thick outer wall. And inside the thick outer wall, it have a thick layer of muscles. That's the pink part. And the part in the middle is where the blood flows through. The small hole at the center of an artery or a vein that's the passageway for the actual blood is called a lumen, right? Now, compare it to a vein. Remember I told you the arteries are the stronger ones because it has thicker walls. Look how thick these muscles are. Now, obviously, the thicker the muscles, the smaller the hole is going to be, because if the muscles are taking up a lot of the space, the hole at the center is going to be smaller, but the artery is definitely stronger. You can see from that diagram, it looks strong. The vein, on the other hand, you notice the walls and the muscles are way thinner, but because the muscles and the outer layer is thinner, making it weaker, there is more space for the hole in the middle. So the lumen is actually be large. So that's a big difference between an artery and a vein. Don't worry, I have a simplified diagram of this just now. And look how thin the capillary is, right? This is actually exaggerated. A capillary is way smaller than this, right? A capillary has a very small hole at the center. Remember, capillaries are about 1,000 times thinner than an artery. And the wall is not thick. The layer around it is actually just made up of a single layer of cells. It has no muscles and things. It's just a thin layer of cells. Let me show you the simplified version of this, the versions you will have to draw in the exam. Right? So take a look at this, right? I don't have a simplified drawing of the capillary because the capillary is very simple, right? It has no muscles. It only has a layer of cells around it. Right. This is an artery and this is a vein. Does the diagrams make sense? The arteries have the thick walls and the thick muscles. Veins, right, have thin walls, thin muscles, but a very large center, right? Now, take down everything here, but there's a slight mistake in each of these notes, and it's on purpose. So I use this to discuss something after. After you draw everything, I want you to tell me what's the slight mistake in those notes. Okay? But draw everything first, then answer the question. Let's see who has been paying attention for the last 15 minutes. Right? And I actually gave away the answer while I was talking. So I think we all agree that arteries, this part that I am underlining is correct. It takes blood away from the heart. And I did mention it does so at a high pressure. That's why arteries are thicker. When the blood now comes out the heart, it's at a very high pressure. So it has to be thicker and stronger to handle that high pressure. But look at the word I used here. Arteries take oxygenated blood. Remember, most arteries take oxygenated blood away from the heart. But that note makes it seem that all arteries take oxygenated blood. That's blood with oxygen in it, away from the heart. Isn't there one artery that does not fit that description? There is one artery in the body that does not carry oxygenated blood away from the heart. It carries it away from the heart, but it's definitely not oxygenated, right? What's the name of that artery? What's the name? Right. And the exception to this, right? The exception is the pulmonary artery. The pulmonary artery leaves the heart, so it does take blood away from the heart, but it's deoxygenated blood. The pulmonary artery is connected to your lungs. It goes to the lungs to finally get oxygen in it. And the same thing with the vein. When the pulmonary vein returns to the heart, it actually has what? The pulmonary vein is the only vein with oxygen. All other veins are deoxygenated. So the exception is what? Is the, let me get a different color there. That'll be hard to see. The exception will be the pulmonary artery. And the reason I like to specify or ask questions on this all the time, when you go through your past papers, the pulmonary artery and the pulmonary vein, which are the exceptions to the normal rule, is what the examiner is going to focus on because he knows people are going to forget about it. All right? So writing the words, the exceptions, writing those into your notes. So, it kind of, it will remind you of that's a very, very important thing that could come in the exam. Right, so this here is, we're going to have, I'm not too sure how you're going to draw this, right? But this one here, I think you're going to need to access the notes, and in your free time, you'll have to draw this. This is a very, very complex diagram, and I know the average person is not going to be able to draw this. So here's what. You just listen to my explanations, and we're going to go through the different parts of the heart, okay? Let's see if we could, without me labeling anything, let's see if we could get at least 3 things correct here, right? This vessel that's coming out of the heart, remember, blood is leaving here to go where? Look at where my pencil is. This blood that's leaving the heart here, where is it going to? Apart the letter A. Where is A headed to? Deshaun, correct. Emma, correct. Where is that heading to? No, guys, you don't listen to the question. Some of you get it wrong. I want to know where the blood is going to. Right. Over here, the blood is going to the lungs. Remember, this blood has no what? Oxygen in it. So it's headed to the lungs to get oxygen. This vessel, we just mentioned it, is your pulmonary what? artery, right? Because it's leaving the heart, okay? So I just want to label this for you, right? Don't draw it, and we're talking it through first. So this vessel here is the pulmonary. Sorry, I have a spelling problem here. Artery. Right. So now over here, when it fills up from the lungs and it comes back to the heart, this vessel is called your pulmonary vein. Remember, your pulmonary vein, I have it red because it has oxygen in it. Now, when the oxygenated blood comes back into the heart, it gets repumped out and goes to the rest of the body. This is called your aorta. It's pronounced kind of funny, right? It's aorta, right? I'm not too sure where the word originated from to have such a awkward pronunciation. All right. So, like I said, you're not taking that down. It's best I discuss it first. So let's get some labeling going on here. You will notice that your heart is divided into 4 sections. You can draw a line down the middle. So you have a left-hand side and a right-hand side. Also, I could draw a line like this. You'll notice it have a top section and an underneath section. Anything on top is called an atrium. So guess what, right? You have a left atrium and you would also have a right atrium. The easy way to remember this is the atrium starts with the letter A. So it comes first in your alphabet. So it's at the top of the alphabet. Okay? Atriums are on top and they are considered to be chambers that hold blood. So just to recap, everything on top is your atrium and everything underneath are called ventricles. Just like how you have a left atrium, you will have a left ventricle. And if you have a right atrium, you will also have a right ventricle. Remember, this heart is facing you. So it come like somebody standing up facing you. So I'm pretty sure that this will be their left-hand side. This side here will be their left-hand side. And this side, because they're facing you, will be their right-hand side. Let's get to some more parts of the heart. Well, we mentioned this one here. This is your pulmonary vein. This is your aorta. And this one here, oh, sorry. When the blood re-enters your heart, like after it's finished with your entire body, and your entire body is returning the deoxygenated blood to your body, that's called your superior vena cava. And then we all know Mr. Pulmonary Artery, which we discussed many, many times. So we just learned in the first slide, the different chambers of the heart. The top is the atriums, below are the ventricles, and then you have the little vessels that lead into the heart or lead blood out of the heart. You have 4 of them to remember. Let's move on to some different parts of the heart. You see this little muscle in between the heart that separates the entire heart from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. So that's to ensure that the blood on the right-hand side doesn't mix with the blood on the left-hand side. That's called your septum, right? That's the big muscle at the middle of your heart. It separates the heart, right? Right. Right, just for the time being, right? I know it have a superior vena cava, and it have two other vena cavas. We're leaving that out for the time being. We making this one simple. The incoming vessel is your superior vena cava. This is actually supposed to be 2 vessels that join to make 1 vessel. For the time being, let's just keep it simple. Superior vena cava. It returns blood to your heart. Now, it have some little, how you say, valves. The valves separate, usually these valves are closed, right? So when blood comes in the atriums, the valves will open up and blood will flow to the ventricles. So these valves here can open and close to prevent blood from entering the next chamber. So these little valves, the one on your left-hand side is called your bicuspid or cuspid valve, sorry, right? And the one on your right-hand side, he is called your tricuspid valve. So don't mix it up. The bi is the one on the left-hand side of the heart, okay? The tri is on the right-hand side of the heart. And the purpose of this is to kind of separate the ventricles, which is the underneath part. Is to separate the ventricles from the atriums, which are the top part. All right? Right. So I don't expect you all to remember all of that, right? But for homework, and I'm going to show you where to get these slides, you need to draw this back neat and label it properly because it's very popular in the exam. Basically, everything I show you here is very popular in the exam. All right, so let's move on. All right, so let's do one more here. I know class is coming to an end just now, but please don't leave. Let's make sure and get the homework. I have a lot of homework for you guys here. So here's what I want you to do. I want you all to guess the word. I have 3 pictures, right? And the pictures are supposed to help you guess the word. Like if you guess what this picture is, if you guess what the first picture is, what the second picture is, and the third picture is, and if you say it fast, it'll sound like the real word. Ah, Emma, you have it. Jivesh, you have it. Ah, why is this so easy? It's definitely not chainsaw. Right? But yes, you're on the right track. This is the picture of a saw, right? The last picture. Marika, correct. Deshaun, correct. Ah, I find this one was too easy. I had to come up with harder things for you guys. Right. All right, let's see what the word is. Let's see what the word is. I know you guys are tired. You probably want to get out of here. Right. The word is actually supposed to be, I've given you 2 hints. It have an O and an R in it. So it's going to be dinosaur. This is a gravestone. So somebody died. I have a yes with a cross. So not yes. What is not yes? No. So when you say die, no, so you get the words. All right. Let's discuss the homework, guys. I need to discuss the homework, and the password for the website has changed.